Hi, Keith here, today to give you a quick growing instruction of how to grow sweet, delicious wheatgrass. So what we'll do is we'll start off with some organic wheat seed, okay? And what I'm going to use is just a ordinary coffee mug. I'm going to fill that up. This will be equivalent to about 250 to 300 grams if I actually weighed the seed. And now I'm just going to take a bucket. You can use a bowl at home. It doesn't need to be anything special, it's just a bucket. Pour them in there, and I'm going to soak them overnight. Just take some regular water, fill it up. Make sure you put plenty of water in there, about twice as much water or three times as much water as seed. Make sure that when they expand, they don't come out of the water. Okay, so now the seeds have soaked overnight, and we're just going to put them through a strainer. So I'm just going to move my seeds, bag of seed. I'm just using a regular spaghetti strainer, and just going to pour them in there and give the bucket a rinse. And then when the seeds are in the strainer, just give them another rinse. Now what you want to do is you want to take the strainer of seeds and just put it on your bench, maybe in a bowl or on top of the bucket, let's say in this case, so that they have somewhere to drain. I only rinse my seeds once a day, so every morning I rinse my seeds until they sprout. Now I'll show you a few photos of the sprouting stages. It does vary throughout the year depending on the temperature. When it's warmer, the wheatgrass seeds sprout faster, and in the winter they sprout slower. So I'll attach a few photos in just a second. Okay, so now we're ready to plant the seeds. They've started to sprout. Usually I would let them sprout a little bit longer so they have a bit longer of a tail, but they're growing just a wee tail here, so I'm going to do the example. So what I'm going to do is just take a standard punnet tray, fill it with some organic compost, organic potting mix. Now, potting mix a little different than the compost you'd find at the stores because potting mix has a mix of peat moss with it. So I'm going to use organic potting mix. The company I use for my potting mix is Living Earth. Now, you can use a small cup to spread out the soil at the bottom of the tray. Makes it easier than getting your hands all dirty, but if you don't mind, just go ahead and get your hands dirty. Get in there. And what I do is I take a second tray, and a second punnet tray, and I tamp it down, giving myself a nice flat surface, to work with. Now I'm just going to take the seeds, empty them in. As you can see, there's quite a bit of seeds for one tray of wheatgrass, because we want to make it a nice lush tray of wheatgrass. So I'm going to spread them out, covering up as much soil as possible. There we go. And now what I'm going to do is, once I've planted that, I'm going to give it a quick water, because the soil might be dry, and it gives the seeds a good rinse. And so now what I do is I take a second tray, and I put this as a lid. One thing you can do is you can fill this tray with soil as well, and that will give it a bit of weight, which will be good for the wheatgrass, keeps them in the dark, keeps them warm, keeps a bit of pressure on the wheatgrass, will organize the root system and help the wheatgrass push up a little bit straighter. So normally I would take some soil, put it in here, and then put it on the top of this tray. And then yeah, just put that on your rack. Now I have some examples here already. This is day 2. Day 2. The roots have organized. You can see a lot more white roots growing. And so I just day 2, I just give it a water, and I put the lid back on. Now day 3, it starts to grow into grass really quickly. See all the little white heads there? Now I flip the tray lid from being nestled in there to just like this as a cover. And I just do that again to keep the wheatgrass in the shade as it's a very young sprout. Here's one more example of it growing up. It grows really quickly. Now I've just sold through a whole bunch of wheatgrass, so I don't have any examples of the other stages, but I'll show those to you with some photos just now. And just to cover the 4 main things you need to do to grow sweet and delicious wheatgrass juice. 1, get good quality seed. If you're getting seed from a bulk bin at a health food store, just take a small bit home, soak it overnight, let it sprout, strain it, let it sprout, and test that it sprouts. Otherwise you can buy a branded wheatgrass seed which should be guaranteed to sprout. Next thing you want to do is you want to make sure that the wheatgrass has plenty of air circulation, making sure your punnet trays have holes underneath, and that your rack that you're growing in will allow the air to go underneath and over the wheatgrass itself. The other thing is to make sure that your wheatgrass is grown in the shade, and lastly, to make sure your wheatgrass gets plenty of water every day. So a nice good water in the morning until the tray is dripping is what you want. So you just give it a good blast of water. At the bottom of this video will be a link to a PDF with the instructions that you can print out and go through them as you're growing. Thanks for watching and have a great day. Okay, rock and roll. Just a quick snippet of how I cut the wheatgrass. I use a large serrated knife.